is wildlife biologist Eric Orff with my New Hampshire Fish and Wildlife YouTube channel. This is mid-January, so I'm looking here through the camera at the Suncook River flowing below my house here in central New Hampshire, in Epsom, New Hampshire. And I've been lucky here. I've been living here on the Suncook River for over 40 years. I moved in to this new house on July 4th weekend of 1979, and I've had the pleasure of having the Suncook River in my backyard. It actually comes down from the west here, right in front of my house. It makes a 90-degree turn and flows, 80 yards or 70 yards past my house here. And this part of the channel has changed very little in the almost 41 years I have lived here. And actually, I had canoed this stretch of the river long before that, in the 70s, mid-70s. I had been canoeing the Suncook River. At the time, I actually lived in Allenstown, about 8 miles south of here, along the Suncook River, not this close to the river, but I fished and began to learn it in the early to mid-70s. And so here it is, 2020, and I'm still in love and enjoying the Suncook River. My longtime friend Rick Hamlet. Oh yeah, would you hit the like button and maybe subscribe? I'm at like 94 subscribers, and I'd like to hit the 100 mark. Could you take a second and hit that subscribe button and see if we can push me over 100 subscribers here this week, and I'll keep at it. So here is the Suncook River. Well, last evening, my longtime and best friend Rick Hamlet came by. He stopped in on the way back from Dunkin's with his big iced coffee that he gets every day, and I broke out a Mountain Dew, and we sat down last night for an hour or two of reminiscing and laughing. We try to catch each other up on scientific things. What are we learning right now? What's in the news? What are we watching? What are we learning? Right now there is so much to learn. It's unbelievable time to be alive here in New Hampshire, in the world. I mean, just if you look at the forecast, the next 5 years, things are going to change more than in the last 25. It is such an exciting time to be alive right now, and so many changes. Now, I'm not great with all the technology because you can see that I don't do a very good job editing my YouTube channel, but that's all right. It's what I'm doing. It's my new thing. Well, I'll learn that sometime. But we were talking last night, and we often come up with different phrases. Like, last fall we decided that we were now, we've won. We're actually too old to die young. That was one of them we came up with. And last night, what did we come up with? We had some reminiscings about the river right here in my backyard. We realized that we've been pretty damn lucky. D-A-M, lucky. Yes. In the first 30 years, or close to it, that I lived here, the Suncook River had a dam down in Pembroke, Allenstown line. The Buck Street Dam had been there for, a couple hundred years, I think. And this portion of the river was backed up so that it was right here, a good 6 feet deep in most places. And for many of the earlier years, probably the first 20 or 25 years I lived here, and Rick moved in 1985, built a house south of me on the river, about a mile south of me in 1985. So around then we built some homemade rafts. They were 2 pieces of 4x8 sheets of plywood placed on barrels or pontoons that we constructed, and some other neighbors had them as well, 2 other neighbors. So we were the rafting people. So many a summer night would find us and our families here on the Suncook River, thanks to the dam. It was plenty deep, and with an electric motor, in the summertime, the current moved rather lazily, and you could motor up and down the river. In fact, we often took trips, that's probably the 7 miles down to the dam from here and back. And so we spent many summer weekends or many evenings enjoying the Suncook River thanks to the dam. So last night, as we talked about how we certainly enjoyed the Suncook River, we also talked about how nice it was, some of the other dams that we learned over time. So Let's think about some of those. Well, I have mentioned before Little Cohas Marsh, which was a marsh that Fish and Game built a dam on in Londonderry, New Hampshire in the early 60s. I moved there in 62 when the dam had been constructed a few years before that, and it flooded about a 250-acre marsh, which I spent hundreds of hours in. And we often were down at the dam. You know, there were nights that we'd get down there and you could catch 40 hornpout was the limit. And I would go with a friend, sometimes Rick or another guy. We would catch 40 hornpout to bring to his family to eat. And there were snakes there and turtles, and you know, the dam was just a place that we hung out. So Little Cohas Dam, thank you, New Hampshire Fish and Game Department, for building that dam. It flooded a marsh and created lots of habitat for wildlife like ducks and raccoons and beavers and muskrats and mink, all sorts of things to see and learn and have a wonderful time. We slept out there several times, including the mosquito night where we tried to sleep under Rick's boat that he had. But the bullfrogs would be booming, so that was another dam. Another dam that we went was actually on High Range Road near his house. He reminded me last night, and I have seen some snakes on beaver dams, but he remembers a time that he was tiptoeing across that beaver dam near his house on High Range Road, and he saw a snake. It was a water snake, natrix. And he saw one, and then another, and there were a dozen or more snakes on that dam as he went across. So it was covered with snakes. I was thinking of another place. For Fish and Game, I did an annual spring waterfowl count of breeding ducks, and in this case, I was in actually and it was still in Londonderry. This particular plot was over on Route 3A in Londonderry, right near the end of Pettingill Road, or Skim Milk Road was another name for it at the time. And it was a gravel pit that had been kind of filled in and stuff, but there was a big beaver pond there. So again, another dam. Well, I was sitting there one day, and we would go to these plots, one kilometer on a side, and assess the breeding waterfowl there, pairs of ducks on territory. And I'd been there, I bet, an hour or more, looking with my binoculars, looking for ducks, and suddenly I saw a snake hanging over the water in the brush, and it was another water snake. And then I realized that as I scanned the brush overhanging that pond created by this beaver dam, were dozens of snakes, or a dozen or more, maybe 20 snakes, all hanging out, sunning themselves in the spring sun. So this was in April, so they'd just come out from the wintertime slumber, and were warming up in the sunshine, hanging over that. So there's another dam, Hayes Marsh, right here in Bear Brook State Park, my neighbor down the road. Bear Brook State Park, 10,000 acres, a wonderful place to have known most of my life. I began to learn it in the 1960s, late 60s. And so Bear Brook State Park, Hayes Marsh, where Fish and Game again built the dam, and I would check wood duck nesting boxes there, or duck nesting boxes there each winter. I trapped ducks there. I saw beavers and otters, and I'm sure snakes there, and all kinds of birds. Just we put in a dam and flooded a wetland, and there's just so much to see. You can just spend hours and hours there studying it, and the longer you sit there, I take it like peeling back layers of onions. So in 15 minutes you might see something, but in 30 minutes you're going to see this, and in 50 minutes you're going to see this, in an hour and a half you're going to see this, and in 2 hours you're going to see that. The longer you sit there, the more you see, and for the most part, it was there the whole time. You just didn't see it because you hadn't been there long enough and hadn't focused your eyes on all that there is. So dams create wonderful places to see wildlife, particularly beaver dams. So I was thinking, mosquito dams and bullfrog dams. Eels. Rick and I, I was at UNH, we took a ride one night and saw this dam covered with eels that were migrating up. 3-inch long eels. So we have an eel dam. Another time, my son and I were duck hunting on the Sunnybrook River. Went up the Little Sunnybrook River to the first beaver dam, hoping to jump a duck. And there was slurry of mercury coming through that beaver dam. Just a silver spraying through the dam. And when we got up close, we realized the fishing game had stalked adult river herring in Northwood Lake, and they had opened the dam boards that day. The DES had opened the dam boards of the Dam Bureau, and when that happened, the baby alewives, which were only 3 or 4 inches long and pure silver, they were migrating out of the lake and were just pouring through every crevice in that dam. So the whole face of the dam was silver, like mercury pouring out of it. Unbelievable sight to see. Didn't have a camera then, I wished I did, but it was a spectacular sight to see life spraying through that beaver dam, and by the thousands and thousands of river herring coming through there. So there was a lot to see at dams. Yes, we've been very damn lucky in our lives to have dams in our lives, beaver dams, fishing game dams, other dams, so fish ladder dams that I've worked at. So yeah, dams are pretty cool. Great place to fish. Sewell's Falls before the dam went out up there. Snorkeled there days on end by Sewell's Falls Dam once it went out, because all the big timbers were laying in the river, and there were bass everywhere. We would catch over 50 bass in a day fishing for bass in the remains of the dam in the Merrimack River at Sewell's Falls. And the Amoskeag Dam was one I was familiar with early, and tried to get a fish ladder put there when I was in my teen years. So yeah, dams have been a very big part of my life. So I've been damn lucky. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you.